It was recorded that 525 people died by suicide last year in Ireland.
My own son, his name was Darren, he died in 2003. Darren took his life on the 6th of April.
I lost one of my friends to suicide.
My son, Thomas, took his own life at 16 years of age, 90 days ago.
That's almost 3 times as many suicides than road deaths.
On average, there is 1 death from suicide every 85 minutes across the UK and Ireland.
This is Ireland's tsunami. It's a tsunami of suicide that's happening.
There's a huge stigma still around mental health. I think for a lot of historical reasons, even when I was a child, you were threatened with, they'll send you to St. Pat's or, to St. Eata's in Portrane, and so it was always seen as a bad, intimidating, frightening place. People often didn't understand it. I think people with mental health problems were locked away, so the rest of the community didn't get a chance to meet them in the shops and have a chat and see that they're normal people like everyone else.
Mental health in Ireland is on average about the same as anywhere else in the world. The difficulty is that as individuals, we're very bad at dealing with it.
Like a young guy or young girl playing soccer or camogie or something, that if they have a physical injury, they go to someone and get it dealt with. Where mental illness is no different. If you're feeling unwell or if you feel like there's something wrong, is that maybe in some way that we can be there for someone to talk to about whatever may be hurting.
Mental health is often overlooked. Physical ailments are so much easier to recognise and talk about, but mental health is something that's equal to all of us. We all suffer, if you like, with our mental health. We're all both victims and benefactors of our genetics and our environment, so I think it's really important to articulate what's going on in our heads as well as with our bodies.
Mental health is about the positive aspects of mental health. It's about coping, it's about resilience, it's about feeling good about yourself. So there's loads of positive aspects of mental health, which I think maybe would be a good way of, I suppose, dispelling the stigma around mental health in general.
Support services out there will kill the stigma. We have to. We don't have a choice anymore.
There is stigma around mental health and suicide. I think the biggest stigma is in the form of the lack of communication. It seems to be a taboo subject, unfortunately. And it's funny because we live in a world where people will go on television and talk about anything, they will do anything, but yet when it comes to expressing what's going on in your head, people are very slow to do that.
I had no idea he was going through a hard time. My friend was always so happy and cheerful, like he never showed any signs of sadness or anything like that.
Thomas seemed very happy in his life. In school, at home, he was in transition year, so there didn't seem to be any pressures of exams, any girlfriend trouble, any bullying, anything that way. It was just total shock to us and his friends.
He was the class clown. He was always the one that was put outside the classroom for making people laugh.
9,218 people were treated for self-harm in hospital in 2008.
I've had cases of parents whose children committed suicide, and the main difficulty is trying to deal with their guilt, and I'm not sure that ever actually goes.
Large numbers of young people are taking their own lives, and if you compare it to the road safety campaign, they've done a really good job in bringing down the number of road deaths, which is brilliant, and we need to follow suit in terms of suicide. And I think big public campaigns are clearly the way to go, one of the ways to go.
I didn't have any professional services really to talk to. I didn't know any, so it was just friends and family I was talking to, mostly friends.
Twice as many girls suffer depression as boys, yet many more boys commit suicide.
We will ask them directly if they're feeling suicidal. We have no fear that we would be putting any type of ideology in their heads if it wasn't there already.
There's a really common belief out there that if you talk to a young person about suicide or you say the word suicide to them, that you're somehow planting a thought in their head. And really, what we know from research and clinical experience is that isn't the case.
At some stage, the majority of us do go through some form of depression, and it is being able to relate your thoughts and feelings. So I think if that's encouraged in adolescents and children at a younger age, whether it is through school, in primary school, that they're encouraged, it's more important. It's more important than the books. How you socialise with people is more important than books, because that's always going to be a part of your life.
It's not betraying your friend if you tell maybe a parent that you are concerned about them.
If I say something to you, you know by my tone how I'm feeling. But a text or Facebook, it doesn't mean, you just don't know what's going on in someone's head.
Mental health issues are non-discriminative. They have the possibility of touching anyone of any age, generation, sex, nationality. It doesn't matter. The same again like a sports injury. It doesn't matter who's playing on the field, they have the potential for getting hurt.
Signs to look out for suicide would be if they were giving away their prized possessions, things that they really loved. If they weren't, maybe their appetite has changed by not looking after their hygiene, by just maybe not going out, or maybe probably drinking to excess.
A good way to reduce stigma is about talking about it, about making mental health a kitchen conversation, something that can happen over a cup of tea. Like if you had dental health problems, that you would go to the dentist, but that if you had something that you wanted to talk about in terms of mental health, that you'd feel open and happy to do that.
The more we see it in the cinema or on TV, it becomes everyday, becomes not a huge issue, and it gets the message out there to young people that if you're worried or upset, you don't have to go through it alone. Talk to someone. It really is, it's a cliche, but it is good to talk. We often feel a lot better when we do.
I think what we need to do in Ireland is, first of all, convince ourselves that we need to talk about it more, that we need to express ourselves better, and that when someone does talk to us about not feeling well or feeling a little bit down or feeling sad, that we need to listen to that, not just do what we normally do, and that is say, oh yeah, don't worry about it, you'll be fine, perk up and I'll see you later. We need to stop doing that. We really need to start listening to one another and being sympathetic.
Talking about your emotions is extremely important, and I suppose it's easy for me to say that because I'm a songwriter, and that's my bread and butter. That's what I've been doing since I was 12 or 13, writing about exactly how I feel. So I'm kind of used to the process now, and that's part of my own personal coping strategy, and I think you have to develop that over your lifetime. Being able to express yourself and how you feel is a really important part of growing up and becoming an adult. And that said, there are loads of adults who don't quite do it well, and that they can improve at it.
I think everyone should really be able to just talk about their emotions with anybody.
Every time you talk about something, or every time that I've ever talked about something, it's always been better. Every time I've shared, it's always made me feel better.
Women have always talked about their emotions, and that's why we probably have better mental health. It's always good to talk.
Why do guys find it hard to talk about their emotions? I think because it's the alpha male image, that you're not supposed to really. You're supposed to bottle it up and then get really angry on certain nights or whatever. And it's quite backward thinking. But I do believe that's changing. I think we live in a world and in a country where it's becoming more acceptable for guys to express their feelings. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all essentially just human beings, so we're made up of the same anatomy and physiology in that sense. So I'm hoping that trend is changing, and by having things like this, and by anybody in the public light speaking out about it and encouraging young guys to talk about their feelings, I hope that will have a knock-on effect, because it's something that you need to do, otherwise you'll internally combust.
Talking does help. We have a saying in Teenline, if you can talk around, hopefully we can work things out.
A few minutes of your time could save a life.
Eoin just being hard and being not judged and being just let express their feelings or the difficulties that they're experiencing in life can have a huge effect.
There are times when we have difficulties, and a trouble shared is a trouble halved. And you know, a significant adult, someone that you trust, doesn't have to be your parents, doesn't have to be a member of your family. Could be your youth worker, could be a teacher, could be a friend, a significant adult. Just to basically say to them, listen, I'm not feeling great right now.
I think the solution to getting rid of stigma is communication. I think it's allowing people to discuss constructively whatever issue they feel they need to discuss, because if you're experiencing something, then the chances are I am, or I have done in the past as well, because we go through the same rites of passage and we encounter the same pressures of life. So I think the most positive thing we can do is allow each other to express ourselves.
In times of crisis or after losing someone to suicide, that talking to friends and family is important, but there are lots of other services online, or free phone numbers, or great websites where you can get really good information.
Jigsaw is an initiative of Headstrong, okay, which is designed to work with communities to help them to support their young people's mental health and to work with young people as well as being part of that community.
Teenline Ireland is a confidential free phone service open every day of the week from 7 to 10 p.m.
Teenline Ireland was launched in 2006. And from then on, it's 9 years later. And we receive approximately 10,000 calls a year.
Aware is another great organisation that provides free services for anyone feeling down.
Samaritans provides 24-hour emotional support to anyone experiencing distress, despair or suicidal thought. If you want to contact Samaritans, you can phone them, email them, visit one of their branches or even write them.
Log on to our website weallneedtotalk.com, where you can find more detailed descriptions of these charities and be directed to their websites.
The average Facebook user has about 130 friends. That means that if you and 10 of your friends share this video, you have already expanded its audience by roughly 1,430. You have the power to make thousands of people see this film. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, your blog, feature it on your website. Do anything you can to get this film seen, and maybe we can change Ireland's opinions on mental health and prevent suicide.
Resilience is what it's about. You know, there are days when we all feel down. There are days when we all feel as if we don't want to get out of bed. You know, those days will pass. Those days will pass. And what you consider to be a major difficulty now, next year you'll look back and say, what was I so terribly worried about?